Hi Jane, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Good. It's so nice to connect with you again. Thank you for taking the time to chat.
Thanks for chatting.
Yes, I'm looking forward to hearing more about your journey and the world of Aura-Soma. There's so
Okay.
much to explore. So I'll just start off by sharing. If you guys are watching on YouTube, which I highly suggest checking it out just for a visual, Jane has these equilibrium bottles set up behind her, and it's really like a work of art. And a lot of people don't know what Aura-Soma is, so I would suggest just checking this out so you can see how she has it displayed. And all of these bottles are tiered, and you see the different colors, and it's really great. Just it kind of paints the picture of what we're going to be chatting about today. So I'll start from the very beginning. I didn't know what Aura-Soma was, and I had seen these bottles displayed probably online somewhere when I was scrolling, and I wanted to research more. I saw them and was immediately drawn to the colors and the shapes, and I found out that it is a system of divination, which I was even more intrigued. And I Googled it, I found the website, and I located a practitioner, which is Jane, and she's based out of Los Angeles, and she was the only one in Los Angeles, so that's amazing. She's representing LA, and I booked a color consultation with Jane. So I went to her studio, and we had a great session. I learned a lot about the system and a lot about self discovery through choosing these bottles, and we're going to explore it all today. So, thank you again, Jane, for being with me. And I want to start off with you just sharing a little bit about what is Aura-Soma.
So, Aura-Soma is a self selecting system of self knowledge and healing, and it's basically vibrational healing. So, the colors obviously, every color has its own frequency, and so the bottles are vibrating with those color frequencies. We're also vibrating, us humans, our energy fields are always vibrating with energy. And so the vibrational medicines basically work with that energy. And so your field is going to vibrate with whichever bottles you're going to choose and use, and they're going to have an effect on you. You have an effect on them. It's a reciprocal thing. So it works somewhat like maybe people who use crystals or flower essences. It's the same idea.
And what's so cool is it's so captivating. And what I love most about Aura-Soma compared to tarot, for example, which I love tarot, but it's different in the way that it's so sensory. All of your senses seem to be involved because you're using it on your body. You see the light, you can feel the color, it has a scent to it. So I just love that you're really inviting it into your auric field essentially.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty special. Each bottle contains essences of crystals, plants, everything in there is natural. All the ingredients are grown on a biodynamic farm in England, and the bottles are made by hand there as well. So they're vibrating with energies of a lot of different natural things. And I personally, one of the things that drew it to me is the absolute aesthetic beauty of it. The perfection of the bottle is really part of it for me, just that it's so simple and beautiful, and when the light comes through it, it's incredible. They're like little jewels. So
And I'm
it is
curious,
very arresting.
what causes the color to separate?
One part is more oil based and one part is more water based. So it's like, I mean, this is not the prettiest description, but salad dressing is kind of the same. When you shake it, it emulsifies, and so that's what happens with these bottles.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just so captivating to look at. It's like a piece of art.
Yeah, they really talk to you. You can kind of lose yourself in all the colors, and I've never not had somebody who's coming to look at the bottles maybe for the first time or the 10th time. Just they get lost in the color, and the color starts to talk to them, or pull at them in certain ways. So there's definitely an instinctive emotional thing that comes into it, obviously intuitive as well, but it is very arresting.
And I can see how every time that you look at it, you're drawn to something different, like an ever changing story, something different that shows up, something that you can work with or see something different that you hadn't seen before.
Yeah, just like thoughts in your energy field, they're flowing.
So where did this begin? Can you share a little bit of the background of Aura-Soma?
Yes, so it was started by a woman called Vicky Wall, and she was living in England. She was the daughter of a man who was a pharmacist, the old-fashioned kind, who actually makes medicines out of plants with a mortar and pestle, and concocts medicines for real before big pharma. And he was also a Kabbalah master. So Kabbalah is a system of Jewish mysticism, and only men were allowed to learn it for many, many years, but he shared it with his daughter. And so she learned all kinds of things from her father on their walks through the garden. He would explain about plants and their properties and what everything does. And she became a doctor herself. And she was, she would make tinctures and creams and things for her patients. And one night she was called to make this bottle, and she didn't really know what it was about or what it was for. She just thought maybe this is another one of my, you know, beauty oils. And she took it to a health fair, and people started trying it, and they were coming back to her with these amazing stories of healing and aha moments and just things she didn't expect. And so she kept making them. And as time went on, more and more bottles came into being. It goes from left to right. So if you see the upper left there, this dark blue and deep magenta on the upper left corner, that was her very first bottle. The number of it is 0. And then they carried on from there. So if you go along the top row, that's the order they came into being in. So this was in maybe the late 70s, early 80s. And she, for the longest time, didn't fully grasp what the bottles were about. Of course, she understood what she was putting in them. But it was really sharing it with people and them coming back and just mutual learning that led to the understanding of what each bottle was actually about and what the system was for. So it just evolved over time. And now there's maybe 120 bottles or so. She passed away, I don't remember what year, and she passed the system on to her apprentice. And so he's now continuing to run it, still in England. Everything's the same. And as times change and as energies change in the world, new bottles come into being. So it's an ever changing, ever growing, ever evolving system.
And that's really interesting too. Like you said, the very first bottle, how it's blue and it's number 0, and it is telling its own story on how it kind of changes colors and new ones are added as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most striking one to me ever was this one, which is a dark olive green over a deep magenta. It's very it's just a really different kind of color energy than some of the other lighter bottles. And this came into being after 9/11. And the meaning was kind of taking something bitter and dark and creating hope out of it, coming out of that and finding ways to find hope. So this was kind of a big picture thing that I always found really striking, that the timing that came into being.
Wow,
And
yeah, that's really interesting. And have you noticed that when they add new colors, some of it can be related to where we are as humanity or what we're kind of going through collectively, or is that just
yeah, absolutely. Because the bottles come into being through intuition. And the people who work in England now and manage the system are intuitive people. And so, they meditate and have, a whole ritual around their work. And so it's really, they come into being on an intuitive basis. And that's, of course, picking up energy in the world, larger energies and more, local energies. But yeah, they reflect, they reflect a moment in time.
Yeah.
That's universal for humanity too.
I love that it's a form of storytelling and something else too, which I know we'll kind of get into more of the layers of this, but just as a system too, it seems to me that you can take so much away from it, or if you want just a simple message of something to work with, you can too. So it's really how deep you kind of want to dive into it.
Absolutely. You can go forever down deep. But if you just, you just need a lift, you can do that too.
So where did your journey with Aura-Soma begin? How did you start?
Well, kind of like you, I saw a picture of it and it stopped me in my tracks. And it was in a magazine and it was an English magazine, of course, because it was from England, it made sense. So I just thought, I have to find this. I have to find this. And who does this? How can I do this? And it took me years. That was probably in the 90s. And then I finally found a practitioner in the early 2000s. And she was local. I was in San Francisco at the time. So I went and had my first consultation and was just completely blown away and hooked, basically. I'd never experienced anything like it. I've done a lot of different things and been interested in a lot of different things, astrology and tarot and things like that. But this was just on another level. So then I just kept excuse me, I kept tracking it down wherever I could find it. And there was a spa in Arizona that had it, up in Sedona. So I went there a couple of times, and then I found a class and I got trained as a practitioner. You have to go through, I want to say, 3 or 4 levels of learning different, they're long sessions, maybe 6 days or so. And so 3 or 4 of those, and then I got my license. So, and then I've just been doing it ever since.
Nice. Now, was it something that you have always kind of felt was there growing up? Did you always have this sort of like space for like divination work or energy work and things like that? Or is it something that just kind of found you?
Well, I've always been creative and somewhat artistic. And I was interested in fashion, and that's the career I got into. So color is central to that. I did a lot of different types of art when I was younger. It was very much encouraged in my family, and so I was in touch with color in general, and and then I made a career out of fashion. So there was that. But yeah, it was probably always pretty instinctive. I think everyone is, and I just maybe indulged it freely because it was part of the creative process too.
Yeah, and I think especially you as a practitioner have to have some sort of intuition, and even just coming for one of your sessions, you're able to hold the space and really make someone come and just have a comfortable and enjoyable session too.
Yeah, well, it's all about the person, and like I said, everybody's intuitive. So it's when someone comes for a session, it's all about them choosing their own bottles. I'm not doing anything there. They're doing it. So it's the person's own subconscious and intuition that leads them to the right colors. And all I'm doing is helping them interpret that. So I very much encourage people to come in and just be themselves because that's how you're going to get the best information.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, are there 13 colors that are used?
Could be, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head because
No, you're
there
good.
are there are hues, and then there are tones, and then there are tints.
Yeah, so it gets real
And so there's
technical.
degrees.
Because I was looking into it a little bit before, because I found it interesting. I found 14 originally, and then there were 13, and then it said that there was the magenta vibration, which is one of the highest vibrations. Or if you want to speak of it, because you'll be able to explain it better.
Yeah, it's basically color theory. So there's primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors. And if you've ever taken an art class, you probably have learned that. And so and then in this system, there are paler and deeper versions of those. And so it's hard to count them, but you're you're pretty onto it.
Now,
It's the
is
usual, it's the usual, color wheel. It's a color wheel. Let me see if I can find a picture so I can illustrate that a little
yeah,
better.
like you said, there's so many variations. And is each color assigned to a chakra per se, or how does it work when it comes to like the energetic field?
Yes, so they all correspond to the chakra system. And so chakras begin at your feet, some would say below your feet even, with red. And then it moves up the color, it moves up from there all the way to the top of your head, which in this system is violet, and then beyond is not midnight blue, but ultra, kind of an ultraviolet, and then white. So the magenta is in this system a little off to the side. It's kind of adjacent to your heart chakra, which is green. And it just, here's a, so this is
Oh,
the chakra system. So you can see the red here, then it goes to orange, then it goes to yellow, and then it kind of goes to olive green, then turquoise, then blue up at your throat, and then all the way up.
and
And
like
the
you said,
magenta is out here in this system.
and does that represent something different because it's outside of the body?
It's more spiritual in this system. It's kind of like where your intuition meets your heart. And it's it's called the soul star in this system. So it's kind of a soul color, less related to the body itself and more esoteric, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah, more like ethereal in a way.
Yes.
Now, looking at the bottles, does the top color mean something different compared to the bottom color?
Yes. So the bottom is, or the top is usually something that you're aware of or that's showing in the world that's more apparent or tangible. The bottom might be things that you're less aware of. It might correspond to your subconscious or unconscious, or it could be something that you're actively suppressing that you kind of don't want to see or don't want to know. So it's it depends on the bottle and the whole narrative, but sometimes the bottom of the bottle is an energy that needs to come up and out, that wants to come up and out, and either the top is helping it or hindering it. It really depends. But typically it's things you're more aware of and things you're less aware of.
Yeah, and it's like this balancing act almost, like you said. It's kind of like this yin and yang
It is. That's why they're
between
called the
colors.
balance bottles.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, equilibrium.
Yes, now it makes sense. Now,
Yeah.
are these similar? Because you did mention that they're made of plant and crystal essences. Are they like crystals in the way that they can take on energy if someone is holding it, or they could be charged by certain things?
Absolutely. So crystals, yeah, I mean, you just said it very well. When you take a bottle, let's say you're going to take a bottle for yourself, once you start shaking it, it starts to attune to you like a crystal would, and it becomes your bottle. So you don't want other people using it, touching it, because it's going to pick up the energy from the other person. So it really, they're sensitive like that. So you want to just have it tuned to you and you only. and not someone else, and then it gets confusing. The energy gets confusing.
Now, would you cleanse them like you would, I guess, essentially like a crystal?
Yeah,
Like, could you use sage or Palo Santo or moonlight or anything like that as well?
absolutely. Yeah, Palo Santo is something I typically use, and then our this system actually has something called a white pomander, which is this one. So it's a spray, and it's kind of like a cleansing energy, just like Palo Santo or sage. So sometimes I'll use this too. I use this for myself and the bottles, but every so often I actually put white on the bottles themselves and kind of, get them really clean.
Nice. Now, how
But
do
they're
you?
covered.
I was
They're
gonna ask,
always covered up
how do you store them?
under a white cloth, usually, um, just to protect them from my own energy, from any energy that's running around. So yeah, I only uncover them when it's time for a consultation or I'm working with them myself.
Yeah, I can imagine because I feel like just pulling off the cloth, it kind of gives them their chance to shine and
Yeah.
adapt
And
to the
they're
surroundings.
sensitive to light also, so if they get a lot of light or sunlight on them, it can fade some of the colors, just like fabric or something like that.
Do they have a typical lifespan?
No, in fact, I think the older ones are the most powerful ones. I mean, they do get time stamped, but
Hmm.
to me, it's not that meaningful. There's some I've kept for years because I treasure that they're older. I think they're kind of like wine. Maybe they get better with time.
Yeah, I could see that too. And, if you're working with one every so often, it could pick up on your energy. And as you change, the bottle can change and it's kind of growing with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have mine here. This is from our consultation 3 years ago. And I should use it more. I do use it, but it's not an everyday thing.
Oh, you barely touched it.
I know. Yeah, I have to start using it a little bit more because one of the rules, too, that I remember that you had mentioned before is that you have to finish it before starting another one, correct?
Yes, because it's energy that your spirit wanted to absorb and integrate. And so until you integrate that energy, maybe you're not ready to go on to the next energy. It's going to lead you to a place where you might choose differently, were you to go for another consultation. So
So maybe I need to finish this really quickly just to kind of move into my next
you can,
endeavor.
if you feel called to that. I mean, I've used a whole bottle in a massage before or put it in a bath.
Yeah, and then I'll have to come see you and choose another color.
Yeah, because you're
Something to
probably
work
ready.
with.
3 years, you've probably done a lot in 3 years.
Yes. So I have that, and then I have the pomander here that I had chosen with you too, which we'll get into the difference in a second. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this is one of the bottles that I have, and I still like the color. I kind of like that it is a little bit more muted. I'm probably not storing it in the best location because it does see some sunlight, but I do like.
It looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, this is number 79, and I kind of like how it's changed colors, and it still smells great.
Yeah, that's a really creative bottle. So you've probably been up to creative things, and as you do more, that bottle will really help support you.
Yeah. Now, another question, when you work with clients or even yourself, how often would you recommend using this or even coming for a session? Is there like a certain time frame or is it more intuitive?
It's very intuitive. So in terms of using the bottle, that is entirely up to you. Typically, a person, if they use it every day, will use it up in about a month. But everybody's different. Everybody's different. And there are places where it might be suggested to apply it. But again, if you don't feel that that's your place and you want to use it some other way, that's totally fine. So it could take 30 days, it could take 3 years,
Yeah.
but it really is just up to the person. And in terms of getting another consultation, you'd want to have finished your bottle and feel like you've kind of completed that journey, and maybe hopefully feel you've integrated that energy. You kind of just know. Personally, I wait a bit in between bottles because even though I may have finished off the bottle, I I know when I'm ready or not ready, and I just kind of wait for it to settle, and then it's just, yeah, it's an intuitive feeling. So I can't really recommend because it's all individual.
You just know when you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what does a typical color consultation look like? If someone wants to book a session and they've never done anything like this before, what can they expect? How does it start out?
Well, it's totally accessible to anybody who doesn't know anything about any of these systems. So astrology, tarot, crystals, color, you don't have to know anything. You just have to be human. So typically, a client will come in and will usually do some kind of breathing or clearing exercise before they start doing anything. So with eyes shut and just kind of centering. And then they take their time as long as it takes, as short as it takes, whatever way that happens. They pick 4 bottles, and it just happens for everybody. Either they feel pulled, or they feel resonance, or they just, I don't know. It just happens that they pick the 4 bottles in their own way, and then we go through and I help them understand that choice and what it means from bottle 1 to bottle 4, because the different positions have different meanings. But usually there's a kind of story that emerges across the bottles, and the person is usually, has a feeling about certain colors, or has something comes into their head about the certain color. And so it just kind of, it's like a conversation. It just goes, it just flows like that.
What do the positions of the bottles represent, like 1 through 4?
So the first bottle is basically you and your soul and your spirit and your personality and what you came here to do. So it usually is really resonant for the person. Like, it's the first bottle they pick. It's like they're feeling their own spirit right there. And then the second bottle is what has come up regarding the gifts that you came in with, and what's happening for you right now, what's maybe top of mind, what you're working with, might be what you're struggling with, or what you need to integrate to fully release the energies in the first bottle. And then the third bottle is the present moment. What have you done with those first 2 energies? And where are you sitting right now? What actions are you currently taking? Where are you, basically, where are you at? And then the fourth bottle is where are you heading, and what are you pulling towards yourself? Usually it's something people really want. It feels good. It's something they're striving for, or reaching for, or moving towards. And they can have that energy as they integrate the energies in the bottles number 2, 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of a time progression and a journey.
Yeah, it's almost like a snapshot of where you are, where you've been, and where you're headed. But like you said, there's so many layers to it. You can keep it simple with maybe just one message of what the bottle represents, but then there are the layers of the colors, the conscious with more of the subconscious, what you're aware of and what you're not aware of, as you look at it too. So it seems like there's a
Yeah,
web that you can get into of a lot of self-discovery.
exactly. And sometimes it's just really validating for people to hear and to see that the work they're doing is being recognized. It's that third bottle is really important because it's the universe saying, "Hey, high five. I know you're working on this. This is this beautiful color that you're creating right now." And that can just feel really good. um, the other thing I see sometimes too is that bottles number 2 and 3 are often a little bit interchangeable for people, because one is what's up for you right now, and one is what you've created at the present moment. So they are more present based bottles. I know for myself, bottles will move. They'll move from right to left over time. Like something that was 4 might become 3, something that was 3 might become 2, or they kind of migrate a little bit over time. And they might pop up. I may pop up with the same bottle, maybe 3 times in a row in a different position. So then I have to really pay attention to, okay, this bottle, this color is really important. This energy is something that's happening.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm sure just to kind of see the consistencies with your clients of what they choose, and it's like this hero's journey that's always moving forward.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting. I work with a lot of creative people because I'm from the fashion industry. So I get designers and people who are obviously really conversant in color and very intuitive. Their stories are always really clear because this is a language that they already speak, whether they know it or not. That is all this is. It's a language. That's all any of these things are. It's just a language that helps us understand our universe and ourselves. So that's always been interesting to me, that certain people's stories are just crystal clear and almost literal. And then others are a little more ethereal and not so crystal clear. You have to kind of have more of a conversation around it to find out what things mean for that person and how it all hangs together.
And like you said, someone could come in who may not feel that they're intuitive, and as long as they just do their breathing before and just show up, it's as easy as just picking a color, and then after feeling validated by what you're sharing the color represents. It's really validating something that they may be working with, whether it's conscious or subconscious.
Yeah, it's really simple in that way. It's just, yeah, it's very elemental, and it doesn't have to be really esoteric, although it can be
So
for those who are interested.
right. I just love the depth that you can go, or you can keep it just a simple message too. I actually have the color consultation form that you had created for me, and you pick the 4 bottles with the colors, and it kind of gives a
Yeah,
breakdown for the clients to take home with. And then you can like later research, or even me 3 years later, I want to dig into it and say like, wait, is this still what I'm working with? The different themes that come up with this bottle that I now need. I feel obligated to finish because I want to get another one. But
yeah,
now
yeah.
after,
You'll have to come over and soon and experience these in real life again.
yeah, for sure, it's such an experience. And the camera, if you guys are watching on YouTube, the camera, the setup is beautiful. But even just seeing it in person and experiencing it firsthand, I mean, it's amazing. So looking at the card, was there a certain bottle that you select for your clients to take home and work with of the 4 that they selected? Is there a certain position, or is it just more of what they want to work with?
Oh, over and above all, it's what are they drawn to, but I always suggest bottle number 2, because if that's what you're up against right now, if that's what you might be, if that's the big opportunity that's not quite materialized, or the challenge that you're experiencing, that's the energy that you're going to want to integrate. And that's where you want the support of the energies in the bottle to help you find balance and equilibrium with that. So that would typically be my suggestion, unless somebody I can clearly see is really resonating maybe with bottle 3, or if they said I couldn't pick between, I got stuck and I wasn't sure which one. Sometimes that happens, but always and above all, it's really the client and their own intuition.
Yeah, that's great. I think
And some people will take all 4. I've had people take all 4 because they just enjoy the story that emerged, and maybe they're going to use one of them, but they're looking at the other 3 just for the sheer, kind of aesthetic beauty of it. So that happens too.
yeah, I could see that. Now, I remember a part of our color consultation, there were the cards that you pulled also. Is that after they select their 4 bottles, or when do you introduce the cards?
Yeah, those are tarot cards that were created very specifically by an Aura-Soma practitioner for Aura-Soma practitioners. So they correspond to the regular tarot up until card number, I think it's 76, and then they flip into kind of return or repeat evolved energies of those first 76, and in this system they're called the return journey. So that's a little different than the standard tarot, but here's a card. So this corresponds to this 0 bottle, the very first bottle in the system, which is blue over deep magenta. And then it's matching to the Fool energy. So if you know about the Fool in tarot, this is the beginning. This is literally the 0 card in tarot. And he's just marching off, he knows, he doesn't know where, but he's going, right? So it's a similar type of energy. It's the beginning. It's actually before the beginning. So yeah, I use these to just add another layer of meaning to the reading, and to a lot of people, especially in LA, are so familiar with tarot. So it kind of puts that extra context in that maybe somebody's going to have just that much more understanding of what's going on. And the paintings are really beautiful. Like, she really utilizes the colors that are in the bottles. That's the whole premise of these cards. So yeah, I find them really helpful to just add another layer and another visual, and just to help people kind of round out the information that they're getting.
Right, you're really painting this full picture when they select their bottles, and it's like you said, it involves all of these different essences and elements and different modalities, and they could take away as much or as little as they want to based off of
Yeah.
what they're ready for.
And the tarot is basically just, it's built on archetypes, which are universal energies that most people understand from literature, from just living, right? So it helps translate color into something maybe a little bit more personal.
Yeah, for sure. So after they choose their 4 bottles, what's the next step?
So then they zero in on the one that they're going to take and use right away. And then there's 2 more layers that I work with in this system. There's actually more than that, but I prefer these 2 layers the most. One is called a pomander, which you just showed yours. Here's one here. That's the white, which contains all the colors. That's why all the colors are across the bottom. And this is basically a layer of protection that you put around your immediate body. And it's corresponding usually to the bottle that you're using. So there's certain colors that are going to go with that bottle naturally. And so I'll make a recommendation, but then I also have clients smell the actual contents of the bottles to make sure that they're connecting to it. If they hate the smell, they're not going to use it. So that doesn't do any good. So it's kind of it's like a laboratory that I like to have, where I'm going to suggest certain colors and bottles, and then they try them and see which one resonates the most, and that's what they maybe choose to go home with. But the way you use this is you put 3 drops in your left hand, and you kind of spread it around your energy field just a little bit outside your body, and it protects, it's energetic protection for the day. Or I use it traveling a lot, and these are plastic bottles and they last forever. So I'll throw it in my bag, and if I go to a hotel room or something, I'll put white in the air conditioner so it's diffusing. Or on an airplane, they're really nice, in the workplace, anywhere. But it's nice to start the morning out with that. You do your equilibrium on your body, and then the pomander just outside your body. And they've done some Kirlian photography. If you know what that is, it's I think it was named for a Russian inventor who invented this idea that you can photograph the human energetic field. And if you've ever had an aura photo done, that's Kirlian photography. Anyway, they did some experiments where people used the pomander and then had this photograph taken, and there was a layer just outside. So you can see that it's energetically around your body, which is really interesting.
Yeah, so when it comes to applying these and the equilibrium bottles, are there any rules or guides that you would suggest in how to make it more of like a ritual or anything that you would do of how you would apply it?
Yeah, I usually send people with a little instructions sheet. It's pretty simple. You always want to put the equilibrium or the pomander or quintessence in your left hand, and then you rub your hands together and put the energies either on, around, or a little further out from your body until you feel like you've kind of covered your whole energetic field. And then the pomanders and quintessences, you usually take 3 deep breaths of the essence in your hands so that you can kind of really bring it in. And that's all the instructions there are. With the equilibriums, there are certain areas of the body that are meant to correspond to those, and they're the chakras basically. So if you have yellow, you're going to want to put it on that chakra. If you have red, you might put it on the soles of your feet or on your legs. So there are suggested areas that correspond to the related chakra, but people do all kinds of things. Like I like to put it on in the morning, and then if it's not a red color, which is very energetic, I'll put it on before I go to sleep.
Will the red
But
just give you energy and kind of keep you awake?
it can, yeah. I mean, maybe not always or not for everyone, but it can. So if you're going to use it at night, the blues are nice, the pinks are nice, maybe green. But red is pretty energizing, so I don't know that I would mess around, but experiment. You never know.
Yeah, maybe it can substitute for some coffee in the morning if you just.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the equilibrium bottles are more attuned to like the chakra system, more of like the physical body, where the palmanders are more for like the auric field, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that field is also, this related to the chakras. The colors are similar. And as you move further out, in this system, as you move further out, they get paler, which is more and more intense, but also a little more ethereal. So the quintessences, which are these kind of really pale, really beautiful pastel bottles, that's working with energy that's more like kind of like a foot out from your body and in your etheric field. So they're meant to help support you if there's energies you actually want to call in to your field versus kind of what you're already working with. So if you want to, for example, this is Lady Nada, she's pale pink. If you wanted to call in a little bit more of a loving energy or something where you're balancing your male and your female sides, those are pink things. You could put this in around your outer field and start to call in those kinds of energies. So this is a little bit more esoteric, I guess I would say, but they all have really beautiful, beautiful fragrances, really, really light. I find them really magical. I love the quintessences, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that last time, so next time I'll have to get that. But I will notice a difference between the equilibrium bottles and the palmanders when I put them on. I love the look of the equilibrium bottles, but I feel like the palmanders, it kind of, you feel more of that like bubble surrounding you. I
Yes,
put it on
good.
before I would go to work, or if you go, to a space where there's a lot of people around you. It's more of just like
Yeah.
that energetic bubble of separation that I do notice. Is there a difference of why you take the 3 breaths with the pomander versus the equilibrium bottle?
You can do that and are welcome to do that with all of the bottles. Yeah. So it's not equilibrium. Yes, you can do that too. It's just it's going on your body, so you're already bringing it in that way. Whereas these don't apply to your body, so the way to get it into your immediate field is to breathe it in. It's also symbolic. So there's that.
Gotcha. So it always goes into like the left palm, and then you just work with it from there if you're like kind of
Uh-huh.
sifting it through the air or working with it.
Yeah, I think the idea there is your left is a little less, it's more your intuitive unconscious side. So you're bringing in kind of spirit from that side and then tangibly with your right hand, doing something with it.
Interesting. Yeah. It's more of, is this the receiving hand? Always forget. I have to, one of them, I think is like the receiving
I
and
think
then
it's the left, yeah.
energetically. Okay. Yes. Then that makes sense. Now, working with clients and seeing just different consistencies with this. When a client comes in and they kind of choose their bottles, are there any like patterns that you see that clients kind of have this like you mentioned, there's archetypes that that they're working with, but are there any patterns energetically that you see from client to client?
There's certain colors that will pop up for people who may be working with either similar situations or maybe this is their line of work. For example, the turquoise colors will often pop up in somebody's reading if they are a creative person, so designer, artist, but also people working in technology will pick up this color. And I think it's because the turquoise corresponds to kind of Uranian energy, which is out there, electrical. Um, to me, it's connected to technology, that type of energy. So it's remarkable. Oftentimes, if a Turk pops up, I'll say, "Are you in technology?" They'll say, "Yes, I am. I'm programmer or whatever." So that part's pretty interesting. Uh,
Do you have a favorite bottle, or is there any bottle that you're working with right now?
I don't have a favorite. Really, they come and go. I love pink, so if I'm gonna just look at the colors, I'm like, oh, pink feels so good. But right now, I'm working with this bottle, which is number 16. It's called the Violet Robe. So it's violet over pale violet, and it corresponds to the Tower card. So if you've ever seen that card, it's a little intimidating. It basically means something in your life is needs to be reconstructed. So when I first picked it, I was like, "Whoa! I know that I picked that." And I was asking the universe, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Yes, that's the bottle. So I had to look at it for a while and kind of travel around with it before I was ready to open it and go, because it is a really strong energy. And it was one I was, a little bit resistant to, which means it's time to use it. So that happens. Sometimes it's something that it's grabbing you, but you're like, oh, I don't want it. I want it, but I don't want it. I want it, but I don't want it. So
Yeah, and like you said,
that's
kind of that balance between the conscious and the subconscious. Like your conscious knows that there might be something there, whether you want to see it or not, whether you want to work with it or not.
exactly.
But yeah, the Tower card. And I casually will pull some tarot cards for myself whenever I feel like I need a message here or there. And I don't know why I'm always surprised, but it's always so spot on. So
It is. It is. And it can have really good meanings too. I mean, that's transformation.
right,
That means, you're knocking down a house so you can build your dream house kind of thing. So
exactly.
so that's the other side of that.
It puts you on your highest path.
Exactly.
Where would you like the future of Aura-Soma to go? Do you see it kind of continuing with new colors as humanity, carries on?
Yes, that's always happening. I also think it can stop with these because there's so many archetypal energies already contained here that unless humans, and this may be, really morph into different kinds of beings. I mean, there's some people who believe that's happening. then yeah, there may be colors we never even knew existed that need to come in. But for right now, I just think it's such a nice, soothing, beautiful energy that supports people in a world that's feeling pretty crazy right now. And it's so simple and something that you can do for yourself that just kind of is grounding and supportive and beautiful and soothing. And everybody needs that right now, I think. So the more people that experience it, the better. And personally, I think it'd be really interesting to bring it into a workplace somehow. I haven't figured out quite how to do that, but I think if it could work within groups, that could be something really interesting.
I agree. And I would be really curious, like we had talked about earlier, kind of going back and looking at the years and the colors of what came up and really what was going on collectively in that year. I think that would be fun to like dive into as well.
Yeah, yeah, I've been really tuned into that. There's probably been four or five that have popped out in the last, I don't know, 6 years or 7 years. Um, just to understand that is pretty fascinating because it's now and it's still evolving. So not the whole meaning may not be readily available right now, but it will be over time.
Yeah, and like you said, kind of looking back, you can see it from more of a bird's eye view of what this time may have represented for a lot of people and for the collective.
Yeah, yeah, and as we're going along living and coping with it, the bottles can help.
Well, Jane, thank you so much. I loved hearing your story and all everything about Aura-Soma. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with anyone listening or people who may be interested in booking a color session with you?
Yeah, come and experience your own colors. It's pretty fun, pretty interesting, and you can find me on Instagram at Modern Potions or on my website, modernpotions.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions. You can shoot me an email or a message, and if you just have a question or curious about something, I'm happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. I'm really here. I'm human. You saw my hands, but not my face.